Morning at NTV's edition of the Kickstarter for this Monday morning, conflict resolution in the National Resistance Movement Youth Leadership, and of course the diagnosis of the leadership renewal for youth in NRM. Challenges post-conflict leadership in Uganda's political parties highlights the need for democratic capacity building, with clear participatory processes involving communities and the leadership as a necessary condition to mitigate the new or resurrected conflicts. Now, almost all parties are facing a challenge resulting from elections, and the recent pandemonium is in the NRM. Although the Entrepreneurship League position was unanimously decided upon by the chairperson or the chairman of the party, the youth leadership is still hanging in the unknown, wondering what next for them. And so as we interrogate their leadership or their desire to lead in the different youth positions under the NRM structure, where do they stand right now? And there's conflict among them as aspirants, but also as a youth by and large. And also what that picture shows us for the general youth and inviting them to the participatory table as far as democracy and governance is concerned. Joining me for this conversation, I do have Mr. Moses Muchunguzi, who is an aspirant for the NRM youth leadership. He's going to tell us more about himself, and then we'll get into the heart of the conversation. We'll also be expecting Brenda Chichoncho from the NRM youth leadership equally. She's been an aspirant. She still is, and her fate awaits tribunal tomorrow, and then thereafter they will know which direction to take next. Mr. Muchunguzi, good morning to you.
Good morning to you. A pleasure to be here and to be hosted by Nation Media at NTV. I am firstly Muchunguzi Moses, also known as Rasta Muzukulu, the new face in the NRM leadership. And yeah, it's a pleasure to come here and deliberate on a few issues and matters arising in the party, especially concerning the youth. Firstly, we must remember that the Youth League is a key part of the structure of the NRM that includes the other leagues, like you said, the Entrepreneurs League and the Elders League and the Women's League and many other leagues. And particularly for youth, the Youth League, which was formed in 2003 and activated in 2005 through a referendum. It has been a key part of the party, especially in forming, in grooming leaders, and also acting as an academy for the party, because it is where most of the leaders go through to national positions. Okay. And at least now everything centers around the youth. I mean, like the people who went to the bush, the class of '86, were a nucleus, but there was a bigger body. Now that was a body around the royal triangle of the civilians. And that was a key part of the revolution, because it was a nucleus that is being supported by a wider mass, which now we know as a mass party. Okay. So it is a pleasure to be with you this morning. All right,
talk to us about your different leadership roles that you have played as far as the democracy and governance is concerned.
Yeah, firstly, I have been through the ranks of the NRM as a caucus leader of the 85th Guild at Makerere University, which was predominantly, by the way, a noob guild, but we maneuvered and we performed very well. And then from there, I've been part of the NYC District Youth Council for Rwanda District through NRM. So I have been in NRM, walked through the democratic processes of voting and election. So what has happened previously on 25th and later on 26th, we were supposed to vote on 25th and postponed to 26th. And then also we were cut short of time because the venue we were using had to host a party national conference. So until then, we had a few misunderstandings, especially for the only position we voted for, which was for the chairperson. And now we are still waiting for the national chairman's guidance, as he committed himself, and with whom we hold our trust that he has guided before. and we are expecting the best.
Okay, it's been coming to 6-7 days since you know, your elections were suspended. Have you heard from the leadership? And in case you have heard from the leadership, what is their stance right now?
Yes, of course. The national chair committed himself through a phone call at the venue that he would, in fact, supervise the process himself. It is key and, of course, expected that it is the youth who are contesting a few organizational challenges, a few structural challenges. For example, we are using a rudimentary way of verifying delegates, which was a big cause of the misunderstandings and of the chaos, because in fact we went through verification twice, verifying 3,000 plus delegates. It is a hectic process when you're doing it manually, but also the energy we bring in the party at the youth is as a role, of course, innovation, but also generational interests. So it is easily likely that you find misunderstandings and chaos in an election which is being held rudimentarily, because and by the way, the disorganization is not just entirely on the EC. It is with the full party from the secretariat, because we first of all had issues of we could not have enough tags for delegates to identify delegates. First of all, which is, as I have already mentioned, the structural problem, because as youth, we have innovations. For example, myself, I am already working on an innovation to digitize the Youth League, and this platform, digital platform of the Youth League, will help to easily identify delegates and send them invitations. They can choose to bring their invitations so that we just scan them when they come for maybe a conference or any other thing, and this will help in easing the process, but also adding trust in the process, because this is what lacks in the party, and it is us, the youth, to tackle such challenges. Okay. So yeah.
You have talked about disorganization, especially in the structuring of the NRM through its leadership, the commission, and the elections and how they were conducted. I'm sure these are not new to you, especially as a young leader coming up within the national resistance movement. Where do you feel these structure and organizational problems are actually stemming from?
Of course, the NRM is a resistance which came through a resistance, indeed, NRA and eventually NRM. So they are a bit of reluctant on adopting new technologies, new innovations and reforms. Because such systems need a bit of testing, but also the era is changing. Of course, it is now. I was just tapping the previous speakers here talk about innovation and science and technology, and again, it is for us. We are confident that we shall be through this, because we have the majority youth who are skillful, who have studied through the different education programs of the NRM, and who surely are to the good grades of wiping out these small challenges. We are surely not moved, but concerned about the organization and structure challenges. Now, like I've already told you that in fact, one also of the challenges has been lack of ideological mindsets. Some of these challenges, of course, are caused by those people who are ideologically shallow. That now, I was challenged that in some cases you will find youth leaders who do not have manifestos, and of course also a bit of delegates who ask for other resources, for other incentives other than the manifestos.
When you say incentives, what does that mean?
When I say incentives, I mean bribery. it is a challenge, of course, not only in our party, but a national challenge, and that should be addressed by us, the young generation.
So as you are going through this process, there's some people in the party that were asking you to incentivize them to have you on the list to go through the elections comfortably?
Not that, particularly the voters. And as I've already mentioned again, it is an organizational challenge. What happens is the party compensates the delegates after some time. When they have come, they give them transport refund and accommodation refund. But if you are better organized, for example, we say our delegates are going to be hosted at maybe a hotel or maybe an institution, a university or a school hired by the party, it can eradicate such a challenge. And then we can also have better connections, because even when the youth come for the delegates conference, there's not really much of the connection for them to connect and discuss, deliberate on important issues. It is rather the candidates who have monetary capacity, who host these delegates, and in other words, make it hard for other candidates to actually access these delegates.
So it's not free and fair at the end of the day.
Of course, yeah. If the structure, if this is a national TV, if you don't have proper cameras, people will not be able to view me quite well. Okay. And if you have challenges, if they complain, it is expected because you don't have the best quality.
So and which is as a systematic issue that is stemming right from the top of the leadership, trickling down to the young people. We saw the case of about each delegate, especially in the national conference, having to go away with 300,000 Ugandan shillings. That's on the minimum, not negating the others that were paying a lot more for their different leagues and the voting. What message does that send to you as a young leader who wants to get into the same system?
Of course, yeah. It is okay. The money, I've already said, the fund is, the party has, of course, its sources of funding. For example, it receives money from the state as the mass party. It receives the highest amount of funding from the government as a registered political party, but also it has other sources of funding which are well stipulated in the constitution of the NRM. So it is also prudent that it is the party that facilitates the delegates when they come for voting. And actually... And
facilitation in this case would mean maybe giving them residency and taking care of their meals, not necessarily having them sway a vote. Absolutely,
which is why I said it is an organizational challenge. I remember mentioning to the viewers that the NRM refunds after the delegates have come, have used their funds for accommodation, for feeding. They just come in to reimburse the amount they have used, which is okay. That's not a challenge, because if the party has capacity, it has different sources of funding through the government and well-wishers, as it is stated in the constitution of the NRM. It is okay. The challenge comes in through campaign financing, where there are bigger sharks in the races who are putting in ridiculous amounts of money in the campaigns, which of course, like I said, when individual candidates host these delegates, which means they are feeding them, they are doing everything for them. That is already in one way or the other manipulation. But if it is systematically that they come well reserved for them by the party, it becomes better. And of course, as I said, as a youth, we come in with solutions to these challenges. For example, myself, I am an experienced event host. I have hosted events in the tech domain, especially Web3 and blockchain, from across Africa, in Kenya, in Ghana, in Nigeria. So we have had events which host tens of thousands of people, which are properly organized, which is why I came up, and I am actually very happy that I did not face any resistance despite my style, because now the party has the synergy to allow everyone, and as it is an ideology that it is an open roof, accommodates everyone. I am happy that I am now coming in, and actually every delegate I come across telling them about my manifesto about digitizing the league, digitizing the entire party. They welcome the ideas, and I believe this is just a wave in the sea. We shall get past through it, and everything will be fine.
Mchunguzi, you're calling it a wave in the sea, but if this wave has moved from the old guard and it's now coming down and trickling down to emerging leaders, and we're still talking about campaign financing and monetization of elections or the electoral process, what hope for a different Uganda do we have if you, the young leaders, or your fellow young leaders, are picking up the same bond to run with?
Yes, of course. We shall not say that we are the holy party. The NRM has faced challenges, and in fact, was the NRA went to Bush because of some challenges. So we cannot just say that everything has become better out of nowhere. We are at the end of the day, we shall not dismiss the fact that we operate in a third world country, but we are lucky that our party is one of those that upholds democratic processes, even though the process is not pure, as I already discussed. But at least we are happy. We are happy with the democracy, and by the mere fact that we are allowed to participate in the process of election, we trust the systems. And for any of these challenges, the youth. In fact, by the way, to just again clarify, is that our election was postponed because the venue we were using was supposed to host another important party event. So we are just awaiting the national chairman who committed himself to guiding and supervising this process, because he understands the importance of youth in the party. So yeah, we surely hopeful, and of course we cannot sit back. In other words, if you wanted to know, in case he doesn't, of course he will. We have trust in him. He has done before, and we are confident that within the shortest period of time he will be able to.
Have you gotten any communique from the leadership or from the commission in regards to what next as far as the youth elections are concerned?
No, of course, as I've already told you, that the national chairman has already committed himself through a phone call that he will supervise.
That was last week. It's been days now, and since that.
That's what we have so far.
That's what you have.
Yeah,
so far.
And we trust the process.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about the fact that you have mentioned that as young people you are coming in with a different vibe, and you have innovative solutions that can deal with some of the structural issues that you have mentioned. Let's take a case in point and paint a scenario for me. If you were to have conducted these elections differently as young people, and we're talking about the participation part of it, we have had the case where participation has been limited for the young person of just go and exercise your right to vote. But then there's participation in how can we actually have these elections free and fair? How can we manage the numbers in the elections? What innovative solutions can be adopted by the organizing committees or the electoral commission of the party to be able to hold these elections in a much more easier way and a much more equitable way? So you talked about the solutions. Paint for me a scenario where you, as an exposed youth leader across the continent, what would have been some of those innovations, those solutions that could have been adopted by the commission to have had a different outcome than we have today?
Firstly, if we have a system for the party that records all the data. Mind you, data is the greatest tool, especially in innovation. So if you have the data of the delegates, we are able to to have them verify themselves through a KYC kind of thing, but also send them individual invitations. Because we have their data, we have their contacts, we send them invitations. If it has to be a QR code to scan for them to access the venues, we send in their emails. When they reach the venues, we just scan. And also through that system, we can implement a wallet. It is just as simple as if you have used Safeborder, there is where you have an e-payment, an e-wallet. So if we have to have their facilitation, transport facilitation and accommodation and meals facilitation in time, we can just disperse the funds through the internet, through the platform to their individual wallets. But also that can add trust, because delegates they are known on the system. And candidates can be sure that the delegates that are accessing the venue are the right delegates, which by the way was one of the causes of the challenges of the youth issue and some other leagues, that they didn't trust that everyone who entered the venue was a delegate. But through that innovation, candidates have the trust that the venue for voting and the process is being accessed and conducted and only the right people are participating. So yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's look to the outgoing leadership. Do you feel it has offered the youth for the national resistance movement any particular green lights for you to continuously engage in active politics?
Firstly, of course, I want to thank the previous leadership, but also remind our viewers that the NRM Youth League was not constituted in 2020 due to issues of COVID-19 and other challenges. So we had a vacuum. So surely we have an uphill task. We have a lot of things to do. The innovations I've been explaining to you, cleaning up some of these processes, quite a lot to do. Surely, we have a huge task to do, but we are not moved. We have the capacity. Now we have come out. So yeah.
Moses Chichan studio to close the conversation, and we want to find out what are the next actionable steps. So far what we know is that there's a tribunal that will be sitting to then make judgment of what happened and then be able to pass resolutions that then can guide the youth leadership in what next as far as their representation on the national team is concerned for the NRM. Talk to us about that, Moses.
Of course, yeah. We have a tribunal for the chairpersons, and now we are looking forward. And of course, in my closing remarks, I want to emphasize one thing. A gentleman called Fisher and Yuri have a principle of conflict resolution, principled negotiation. As a party, we have to move forward. I've already highlighted that we have not had a youth league for the last 10 years. So in this principle, I think we should now look more at interests over positions. If I have these great ideas and I go through a process that challenges me, by the way, I'm subject to a ballot. I should accept, and like I've already told you, I've already kicked off on a few innovations. I've already set up an intuitive and interactive website, but also that has data for all the delegates, and I'm yet to implement a verification. I have already developed the logic. I am yet to implement the verification for every delegate. I have to keep moving. So it is the interest of the party that we move on. Yes, the interest of the party we move on.
All right. As we close, another something else that I'd like you to speak into. We saw how the president handled the Entrepreneurship League situation, and him coming out to appoint someone for himself, and then people should agree that that is the appointment by the president. Why not have the same adopted for the Youth League? And how does that concern you that the Entrepreneurship League case was handled that way and your case is being handled differently?
Okay, thank you. Firstly, to correct you is that our case, we had voted. The issue was that we had gone past the time we were supposed to use the venue we were supposed to use, which resulted into calling off suspending the process until a later date. Of course, we acknowledge and thank the national chairperson for mediating between the contestants in the Entrepreneurs League, and them coming up with one leader who I believe they feel is the one that will take the league forward. Of course, we would love a kind of similar process. We don't dismiss it. We would welcome it, and it would be very prudential that we also, if the chairman addresses our issues like he has committed himself already, but also about the post of the national chair for the Youth League. We had gone through a process, and the process is in the tribunal. I do not have the party constitution does not give me permission to speak on a matter like that. Okay. But yeah, if it has to be through the national chairman to come and mediate the youth, we welcome it. All right.
Well, thank you so much, Moses Chichoncha, for speaking to us. Aspirant NRM Youth Leadership, and all the best to your endeavors. Looking forward to a solution, sooner than later. Justice delayed is justice denied, especially for a young person. And what this picture actually does represent of youthful engagement in the general electoral processes as they're building up towards 2026 general elections. So that has been the diagnosis of the leadership renewal for youth in NRM, and overall our conversations here in Morning at NTV. Thank you.